Good morning, everybody. Rise and shine. Ready or not, let's do this. This is a ridiculously early morning webinar to start your day off right, whether you're ready for it or not. There's a little bit of mindset, a little bit of business sense, something to get your day off right, off and running like a well-oiled machine. Let's backtrack a little bit of this. So there's something in here to get your MLM, network marketing, small business, brick or mortar, online or off, up and running like a well-oiled machine. Whether you are a newbie, a seasoned veteran, or somewhere in between, there is something here for you. Welcome. My name is Mina. I'm coming to you from New York City. I created this webinar, this hangout, each and every day, every weekday, to push myself out of my comfort zone and to share my experiences growing into entrepreneurship. And I want to bring you along with me. Let's grow into success together. How are you doing today? Happy Wednesday. For a lot of people, it's known as hump day because it's the middle of the week and we're getting closer to the weekend. I hope your 2015 is going really well and you're having a great week today. Let's do a quick recap of what we spoke about this week. On Monday, we spoke about competence. Competence as a leader and the 5 qualities to cultivate competence. Yesterday, we spoke about priorities, the 3 P's of priorities. And for the business sense moment, we spoke about, what did we speak about? You know what? That's not important because I'm really excited about what I'm going to talk about today. In fact, I was doing some research last night and I just came across this teaching by John C. Maxwell. But before we start with this teaching that I learned from John C. Maxwell, I want to play something for you. And I'm going to share my screen, and it's an old Michael Jackson video. May he rest in peace. And I want you to look at the words. And after we play this, we're going to talk about those words. So I'm going to share my screen right now, right here. We're sharing the screen. Let's present to everybody. And here goes. So I hope you can hear this. In the mirror. Na 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 na. Okay. I know you were starting to groove, but those words, let me repeat those words for you because they are extremely important. He says, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. So what John Maxwell talks about here is the mirror principle. When you're a leader, everything starts with you. If you want to make an impact in others' lives, if you want to pour into people, you need to pour into yourself first, and you need to look at yourself first before you can initiate change in others. I want you to think about that and let that sink in for a moment. I'll read those lyrics again because they're very profound. And when I was looking at this video and looking at Michael Jackson's words, they're very wise words because they do talk about changing yourself first before you can make a change in the world. Starting with yourself in the mirror, asking that person in the mirror to change his ways, change her ways. And this message is can't be any clearer. It's crystal clear. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. So what John Maxwell talks about here is the mirror principle. The first person we must examine is ourselves. Looking ourselves in the mirror, doing that deep self-reflection. If you want to be that leader, what do you need to do to change so that you can be that agent of change? So what he says here, if our perception is distorted, then our attempts to influence others will be misguided or even manipulative. So we have to look at our own intentions. What are our intentions? Are they pure, good intentions, or are we just looking to make a fast buck? So you need to look at yourself first, look at yourself in the mirror, and decide if that's happening or not. If it is happening, what can you do to change that for the better? What can you do to take the focus off of yourself and put it on others? Now, when we do that, that brings self-awareness, that brings conscious, because if we want to be agents of change and we want to do the world some good, we want to add some good to the world, we have to have good in ourselves so that we can help others. Why is it so easier to size up everybody and judge everybody? And it's so hard to judge ourselves. It seems to be so easy these days to do that. The world seems to be able to size other people up and say, oh, you, this, that. Instead of, like, when you're pointing the finger, you don't realize that there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. The first person you need to point at is yourself. And that is where you're going to initiate the change. When you change yourself, you're going to be able to change others. Or you're going to be able to be an inspiration to others, because you can't change others if they don't want to change themselves. Think about that. You cannot be an agent of change if you're trying to force your ideals on other people. You can't do that. You can change yourself for the better so that you could be a better inspiration. You could be an inspiration to others, and you want to inspire others to change themselves. So think about that. John Maxwell says it's important to check yourself, check your blind spots. It's like as if you're driving a car full of people. You can't drive effectively if you don't realize that you have blind spots, things coming your way. So when you're steering with a team, you need to, if you neglect your blind spots, that's going to cause a big car wreck. So you have to be aware of everything when you are leading and when you're steering a team, and that starts with you first. Okay. What he says here, you need to get along with yourself. You need to have a healthy self-image, of yourself. Realize that you're not important, that you are not, realize that you are not perfect. You are important. You're not perfect. You have flaws. When you realize that, and when you have the ability to laugh at yourself and realize that it's okay to fall and fail forward, as long as you get up, brush yourself off, reflect on what happened and what you can do better, and move forward, that is a healthy self-image. Because it says here, what John Maxwell says, that as a leader, you must yield self-honesty. And this comes about, oh, this is powerful. Listen to this. As a leader, you must yield self-honesty. This comes about when you realize that the first person to cause problems is yourself. Realize it all starts with you. Stop playing the blame game. It only leads you to whine. Stop whining. Stop complaining. It's not going to get you anywhere, because complainers drag down the morale of everyone else around them. So realize that everything starts with you. You are the agent of change. If you want to be the agent of change and you want to inspire others to change, you have to start with yourself. Leo Tolstoy said this: everybody thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Let me read that to you again. Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. So here are 3 basic questions, courtesy of John C. Maxwell, of what to ask the man in the mirror. Number 1, what do I want the future to look like? You need to visualize. This is all about visualization. Where do you see yourself 6 months from now? Where do you see yourself 1 year from now? How about 2 years from now? 5 years from now? 20 years from now, if you're overly ambitious? Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in the same position, in the same job, getting up day in and day out, taking the trains, going and seeing the same thing, struggling to make ends meet, moving from check to check, wondering why you can't go visit your family at the drop of a hat? You haven't seen your parents in years. They live in another country. Uninspired. Do you see yourself? Do you see yourself ever growing? If you can picture this now in your brain, where will you be here 6 months from now? Do you want to be in a better place? Do you want to grow? Do you want to experience new things? Remember, it all starts with you. How can you be that agent of change? First within yourself, and then how can you be an agent of change in that you become an inspiration for others? Now, mind you, if you're in a job that you love and you're excited about it every day, that you get up and you're really excited to go, good for you. How can you continue to grow in that job? Don't stay complacent. Don't ever become complacent. Don't ever think that you've arrived, because what I believe is that you've never arrived. You've arrived at one potential, and then you have potential to achieve more potentials. As Liz Murray says, new moment, new opportunity, your potential is timeless. So visualize where you want to be in 6 months, or in 1 year, or 2 years, or even 5 years. And I hope it's not in the same place, doing the same things. I hope that when you visualize where you want to be, you're in a different place. You're doing new and exciting things. You're achieving the dreams that you're achieving what you've always wanted to do. So that is the first thing, the first question you want to answer. What do I want the future to look like? And remember, your potential is timeless. And in order to achieve your potential, there's no age limit. It doesn't have to do when you're young. You could achieve it when you're 80. What do you want your future to look like? Visualize that. The second question is, how do I move towards my vision of the future? So to fulfill your vision, you have to plan and strategize. Going back to question 1, when you visualize your dream, you have to be clear about it. And it has to be compelling. You have to be able to be specific and clear what your vision is. Like, 6 months from now, I want to hit new leadership levels in my company. That is my vision. I want to be able to not have to worry about how to pay my bills and how to pay my rent. That's vision. That's a clear vision. In a short term, 6 months from now, 1 year, I want to be working full-time in my home business. I want to be able to start traveling and speaking on stages. That's a clear vision. And number 2 is, how do I move towards my vision? So now that you have your clear vision, your specifically defined vision, how do you move toward that? You can start thinking about, well, what do I need to earn income-wise in my company? What volume do I need to generate so that I can be in profit from now in 6 months? You could start small. So, well, what do I need to do in my company to earn $1,000? What do I need to do to earn $500 this week? Once you have that clear vision, then you have that plan of what you need to do, then you could sit down and plan out and execute that plan. How do I move towards my vision of the future? You need to plan. John Maxwell says here, people who see their vision materialize are the ones who have devised concrete plans to enlist supporters, gather resources, and upgrade their abilities. Let me read that to you again so that it sinks in. People who see their vision materialize are the ones who have devised concrete plans to enlist supporters, gather resources, and upgrade their abilities. So you need to have a concrete plan in place so that you can achieve your vision. And then number 3, am I using my time wisely? Time is a very precious resource. What you squander away, you can never recuperate. John Maxwell says that we cannot conserve time, save time, manage time. We can't do that. We can only manage ourselves and how we look at our day and how we use our time. And it should be used very wisely. Everyone gets the same number of minutes each and every day. We have 24 hours, which equates to about 1,000 something, I think 1,400 or 1,700 minutes. Let's look that up. I'm going to Google that. How many minutes in a day? Okay, I'm Googling it. Isn't Google a wonderful thing? How many minutes in a day? 1,440 minutes in one day. We have 1,440 minutes in a day. How are we going to use those minutes? Okay. So if you can't manage your time, you can't manage yourself. And here says, nothing success, excuse me. Let me take a drink of my morning juice with my excuse me. excuse me, nothing separates successful people from unsuccessful people more than how they use their time. And I'm going to quote John Maxwell on this. Successful people understand that time is the most precious commodity on earth. As a result, they know where their time goes. They continually analyze how they are using their time and ask themselves this question: am I getting the best use of my time? Ask yourself today, am I getting the best use of your time? How are you using your time? 2015, make it the year where you're using your time wisely, where you're making the best use of your time. If you need be, carry your agenda. I know I showed a different agenda yesterday, and as a sidebar, I love journals and pens and stuff. And if an agenda does not, if something that I'm going to use as my agenda to write down my daily day, my to-do list, the things I need to do, and inspirations and brainstorms, it has to sync with me. I don't know if you know what I mean. Those of you who love pens and paper will get me. So the journal I showed you yesterday, while it's a beautiful journal, it wasn't syncing with me. And so I found this one, which I really like because of the paper, but I digress. But find a journal and write down what you need to do, write down your goals, your dreams. You have it here with you and carry it with you, excuse me, and manage your time well, okay? So I will leave information on so you can get access to Michael Jackson's song with the subtitles, so you can look at the words and get inspired, because I found that song to be extremely inspiring. Those words are really, really inspiring. So that is the mindset moment of this webinar. Now we're going to go into the business sense moment. And it's all about 5 management techniques worth using. Let me just take a look at, let me get my notes here. Hold on. All right. And I find these business sense moments at entrepreneur.com. Entrepreneur.com is an amazing website for entrepreneurs, made by, I'm sure it's made by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And they have these amazing articles that are like 5-minute reads. And I grabbed inspiration from there. And this one I'm going to share with you was written by Dan S. Kennedy. Dan Kennedy is a famous copywriter, and he is well known for being a very effective user of his time. He knows how to use his time really well. He spoke of an experience where on the day of his mother's funeral, he was up bright and early in the morning writing. And he said that this does not mean that he does not love his mother, it's that he still has to do his work. And so he always gets up in the morning and he writes. So, but he still mourned his mother, but he still had things to do. And, you know, and it's just because it all boils down to this. He knows, the man knows how to use his time really well. And that's why he's very successful. So in the business sense moment of this webinar, I'm going to share with you 5 techniques that he uses to make the best use of your time. And the first technique is to make and use lists. So what he says here is that there is not a single time management discipline or system on earth that doesn't revolve around making and using lists. Lists are important. There are people who love making lists. And he shares with us 4 different lists that he uses to help manage his time. He says his schedule for the entire year, day by day. The things to do list, a basic things to do list, organized by month, week, and day, prioritizes A, B, and C's. This is what he uses. People to call list, and that's also prioritized alphabetically. And a conference planner, that's the 4th list. A page for each person that he interacts with a lot, where he jots down things that he needs to talk to them about as they occur in meetings and conversations. So those are the 4 lists that Dan uses to operate. He uses these for years. He's operated with 4 basic lists. That's what Dan uses, Dan Kennedy uses to help manage his time. And that could serve as inspiration for you and I. Okay. He says this, Dan Kennedy says this: if you aren't making lists, you probably aren't making a lot of money either. Now that's wow. That's, that does make you think, because he says it's impossible with the world that we live in right now for us to remember everything. We can't remember it all. We have to write stuff down. We have to make lists, okay? Technique number 2 to help manage your time better. Tickle the memory with tickler files. So here's the example. The idea is simple. You have 90 file folders. Red ones numbered 1 through 30, blue ones numbered 1 through 30, white ones numbered 1 through 30 that represent the current month. That's good. Next month and the month after that. Let's assume you agree to follow up with a client on a particular matter on the 10th of the next month. You take either that client's whole file or that piece of correspondence or a handwritten note and plop it into the blue file folder number 10 and forget it. On the 10th of the next month, it'll pop up all by itself and remind you to do it. Used right, tickler files reduce clutter, serve as automatic memory, and help organize daily activities. That's pretty cool. That's a cool technique. All right. Number 3, minimize meetings. Yesterday, we spoke about how meetings could be a big time eater. And if you're a leader, the 3 ways you can manage that so that you can maximize your time. Dan Kennedy hates meetings. He says for a lot of people, meetings are a place to hide out or preen and be important. But they're not a place to actually do work or get anything done. And I'm quoting Dan Kennedy on this. You need a strategy to avoid them. And so he says, if you lead meetings, you need a strategy to abbreviate and focus them. If you must attend meetings, you need a strategy to escape from them at will. That's good. I'm quoting Dan Kennedy from that. Technique number 4, block your time. So he says here, okay, I'm just reading it. He says here, most people's schedules only have their locked in stone appointments with others. And in his schedule, he has pre-allocated locked in stone appointments with himself and his work. So remember, some webinars back a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about creating blocks of time in your schedule, not only for your appointments, but even for your everyday activities, what you do in your business, blocking time out to have lunch with your mother or have time out with friends. So everything that you need to do in your everything you need to do in your day, you need to create a block of time for that so that you can manage your time well. For instance, if you need to travel to an appointment, block out the travel time it takes to get to your appointment. For instance, if you have an appointment at 9:30 and you know it takes you an hour to travel to that destination, you need to put down, okay, give yourself a half-hour cushion time just in case if you're taking public transportation that there's a delay. Say that if you have a 9:30 appointment, you're going to leave the house at 8 o'clock so that you can get there by 9:15. So you say 8 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. You're traveling to get to your appointment. That's an example of blocking out time in your schedule. Okay. Let's see. Technique number 5. Profit from odd time. That is technique number 5. So what he says here, there's simply no excuse to simply waste time while waiting in an airport, stuck in traffic, or parked in a reception room. So what he says here, everything now is portable. A seminar by a great speaker, just about any book ever published, how-to information of every variety. It's all on audio CDs and DVDs, accessible through online media inside your Kindle or Nook or iPad. So what he's saying here, to make the use of the odd times when you have a free moment, you can do it doing personal development. You can listen to an audio tape, maybe by Tony Robbins, or something by Robert Kiyosaki or Brennan Bouchard. The important thing is that you're making use of your odd time doing something productive, not watching YouTube or kittens, what he says here. Or you can use YouTube for something other than watching kittens water ski. Or you can make sure you have an actual book with you at all times. He says here, excuse me. He says here, some people give their odd lot time to returning calls, texts, or emails, or to talking on the phone. And he said this is a mistake for 3 reasons. First of all, because you're hurried. You have 5 minutes and you make a quick phone call. You're in a hurry, so you're not going to give your total focus to that phone call. And it's without proper preparation. If you have to do an important phone call, you're not going to be able to do it in 5 minutes. If you're doing it like right off the cuff, it's going to be done poorly. And you want to give importance to those important phone calls. You can't just do it off the fly. He says here, it's a bad precedence to set with those who have access to you and with whom you communicate. If you inject randomness, you lose the ability to impose organization. And it steals time you need to think, to read, to listen, to get, and process input. So make better use of your time. He says, don't do it giving odd lot time to returning calls, texts, or emails. There is a time to do that and to do it well. So that is, let's review 5 techniques to manage your time better. The first is to make and use lists. The second is to tickle the memory with tickler files. I like that one. Number 3 is to minimize meetings. Number 4 is to block your time. And number 5 is to profit from odd lot time. I will leave the link to this article below so you can go and read more about it and read more articles written by Dan Kennedy to learn from. And I want to thank you for stopping by today on Rise and Shine, Ready or Not, Let's Do This. Have a happy Wednesday. And I will see you tomorrow, Thursday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Have a successful day, folks. See you tomorrow. Cheers.